Hey everyone, we're live from Analysts Gone Wild. Sam, we got 20 episodes, 19 episodes behind us, number 20 here. We got 4 great people, and we got Ken, Sam, Thomas, myself, Robert Kramer with more insights and strategy. We've had a lot going on the last couple of weeks with travels and talking about what's going on. We want to talk today about what's going on in the industry. We got a lot of things happening, but let's go around the horn and introduce ourselves and maybe say something what you guys been up to the last couple weeks, and why we got some good things to talk about today. Thomas, what's going on with you? Are you on mute or you can't hear me? Let's go to Ken.
Well, hey there. Ken Gonzalez here, Pretty Simple Group, otherwise known as KenGon. I'm providing coverage for CIO and infrastructure and operations topics. And for the last couple of weeks, I've really been focused on client deliverables. So it's been a very action-packed few weeks.
Great. Thomas, are you with us or are you still out of pocket? I think he's on mute. Sam, I think, I'm not sure if you want to tell him that, but, he's still.
Yeah, he's on mute. Let me try to unmute him. Let's see. Okay. This is going to help. Thomas, can you hear us? No, I think I'm not able to
Sam, you go ahead.
All right, I'll go. So Sen Gupta, Elevate IQ, we are in the analyst space as well, covering enterprise software. For the last couple of weeks, obviously, a lot of work, a lot of activities, but at the same time, this is summertime here. So, a lot of activities with my kids as well, playing in summer. So that's exciting.
Yeah, there's been a lot going on. I think we're going into the summer months. It usually quiets down a little bit, but it's been just a really busy springtime. And I think let's jump into some of these new news items that we want to talk about. I think we got some ERP coming up today. Acumatica has been acquired by Vista. Let's talk about a little bit about what we think. Is that a big deal or not? I personally, a lot of background in ERP. This isn't like a change of from a perception that they're changing their features or functionality. But I think, hey, Thomas is back. We'll come back to you in a second. But they're being sold to Vista Equity Partners. I think it gives them a little bit of ability to be more flexible, to focus on their customers and AI. It doesn't really change their perception in the marketplace, but the company that bought them, I think, is focused on small to medium-sized ERP companies, and it fits really within their wheelhouse. The company that they were owned before was EQT, which had they actually owned, I believe, or still own IFS, and the goal, they were kind of kept apart. So I think people originally thought there'd be some integration aspects there or some marriage, but they were still kept apart. And today, I think that this is a value add to both sides, both Vista and Acumatica. And I think it kind of came out of the blue, but I'm pretty excited about how Acumatica can continue to build, because they definitely have a really strong hold in the marketplace. But Sam, I know you have just a strong background in this as well. What's your opinion?
Of course. So I'll touch on some of the points that you mentioned, and I'll add some more. So it's a very interesting move, to be completely honest. And I don't know if you guys are probably going to have more background in terms of which private equity is bigger, whether EQT is bigger or Vista. My understanding was that EQT was bigger. So this is a very interesting move, and don't quote me on that. Maybe Vista is bigger. So my assumption would be that you probably go from a smaller to slightly bigger. But in this case, this might be reverse direction. The IFS comment that you mentioned, Robert, that was my assumption as well, that there's going to be a lot of integration because that's what they had announced when they had either invested, acquired. I don't know whether that was a real acquisition or just the investment, but that's what they were saying, at least from the go-to-market strategy perspective. They were saying that there is going to be substantial alignment. From my experience in the market, I've never seen that. Like, there was nothing between IFS and Acumatica. Sure, there would be some items, but as such, there was nothing. Now, if you look at Vista Equity's background, my understanding is that they have held lot of different ERP vendors as well. I think they had Aptean, if I remember correctly, and Aptean had a very different strategy compared to what Acumatica does. Okay, Aptean is like, okay, you know what, this is going to be very verticalized. It's going to be, okay, we are not going to rely on any sort of channel partners. Here, Acumatica does not even sell direct, right? So it's only channel partners. So this is going to be very interesting. I don't know if they are going to change the strategy as well. The way Acumatica operates is very different. And obviously, now they are talking about the AI first. So I don't know how capable Vista is going to be. In that, my understanding of Vista's model was they are really, really good at marketing. Okay, they don't believe as much in R&D, at least from their portfolio companies. I have not seen that. They will probably integrate a little bit, but not the product innovation the way Thama Bravo is going to do. The kind of work that they do, for example, QAD is the best example for that. The other point that I would like to mention is $2 billion valuation, which is substantially higher. And I don't know what is their current ARR. Robert, you might have more background in that. But my understanding was that they should be closer to like 100 million. So this is a heavy lift. My understanding is that NetSuite was roughly what, 800 million when they were acquired by Oracle, and then Sage Intacct was similar as well. And these two are probably the closest competitor for them. So I'll pause there. I know I spoke a lot.
Well, we like that when you talk a lot. So, Thomas, welcome to the party.
Yeah, thanks.
I mean, you were doing your own party behind the scenes. We don't know what was going on. But why don't you introduce yourself, and do you have a comment to make at all?
Well, Thomas, thanks for letting me in again.
We were thinking about whether we wanted to, but we were short of players.
Of a head CRM, typically focusing on whatever is CRM-ish, CX-ish, AI, with ERP being, let's say, a kind of a side business, having an SAP legacy. And, well, little comment on Acumatica. I don't really know how they want to get pronounced. I think that's quite a good move for them, because Vista has deep pockets, and they are not really known for tearing their acquisition companies apart or their acquired companies apart. So they typically look at the whole is more important than and more valuable than the parts of it, unlike some of the other VC companies around.
Mm-hmm.
And they tend to show a long breath. So I think this is quite good for Acumatica, as they want to get further footholds in the market where they are already pretty established, actually, given how young they are.
I think in the end of the day, can Acumatica grow, and is it good for the customers? Right? Because I mean, is this leveraging the resources that Vista has to help Acumatica grow, where the customers can get more from the ERP solution? Because ERP is such a big component of transactional data that supports, all the things that are going on with AI beyond ERP, so into all these data platforms, et cetera. But Ken, what do you think?
So my comment is not necessarily as much about Acumatica as it is the general market conditions. So my forecast is I'm of the opinion that we're going to see a lot more of companies being moved into private equity, whether they're currently public or private. I think that given how soft some of these spaces are, and the fact that I think a number of the VC firms would be looking for, I wouldn't exactly call it a fire sale, but really looking for value investing. I think it's a great opportunity to go shopping and look for opportunities to invest and potentially grow something for some point in the future when things stabilize. Now, I don't necessarily know whether that translates into, trying to create a shotgun marriage where you get two companies that have complementary capabilities and you bring them together. That has a bit of a sketchy track record in the past, but it's certainly possible. But that's what I'm seeing.
Okay. I mean, I think that you're on target, and that's one of the reasons why they bought them. I think I don't see a negative here, Sam. I mean, are you thinking there is one, or are you just time will tell?
So in my mind, I think it's different. I would not say negative. There might be strategy changes because in my mind, I would not see Vista acquiring Acumatica, because the way Vista operates is slightly different than what Acumatica's original blood was. So here, as Ken suggested that, fire sale is the term that he's using. I mean, Vista is kind of known for fire buy, if I could use that term. They were, acquiring companies for Aptin, I believe, and they were very aggressive, even in the down market. When even the acquirers, like the companies that were really known for acquiring, for example, Infor, Epicor, ECI was doing a little bit. And then now we have Advantive as well. That is the newer ERP vendor that they created literally in 2022. So they were all buying. And now, if that happens with Acumatica, Acumatica has a very different strategy, right? They are known for their ecosystem, partner ecosystem. So is Acumatica going to buy their own partners, ISVs? That could be a play. Okay.
That's interesting that you said that. I mean,
yeah.
Go ahead, continue. I'll add something after that.
Yeah, so that's where I see very, 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 very different strategy. Or maybe Vista is actually changing their strategy, but Acumatica was known for their product expertise. They were actually very, very, very good at marketing. So Vista is not going to have value add from the marketing perspective. In my mind, they were known for their marketing. Sorry, go ahead, Ron.
Well, I don't think that has anything to do with that, because I think that they're letting them run independent. They bought them to help, and to help provide equity behind Acumatica to help them grow. I mean, they're really a top player in the small and medium-sized marketplace, right, in the cloud. They have a lot of innovation aspirations, specifically around AI, beyond AI automation, supply chain. The partnerships are a big deal, as we're seeing with a lot of these companies. I think that Acumatica, from an AI perspective, I would look to see them having more integrations with AI companies, like a Perplexity or a ChatGPT, or some of those Anthropics, et cetera. But I think that's what's going off of what all you guys have said, specifically Ken. This is a trend of being bought and then partnering. But if they want control or want to dial down to that avenue of selling themselves, I don't see a problem with that. I think that adds a parallel effort and might actually enhance their marketing a little bit.
Yeah, great points.
So, I think these are what we're seeing is not necessarily segregated to, a specific industry, but we're seeing this across the board, that lots of companies are investing in AI. They're establishing different things with CRM. They're building their data platforms with players that complement, and it all ends up being, what do the customers need? It's kind of like a race, with things like Snowflake and Databricks, going back and forth with different acquisitions. And I think that the companies, I would advise them to focus on themselves and where they play best, instead of worrying too much about the competition. I think Acumatica is kind of doing that here. Okay. Any closing thoughts, Thomas? I mean, you late to the party. Why don't you finish off the last comment here?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Well,
in my realm.
Okay. Well, let's go to the next one. We have we got Capgemini and Mistral AI and SAP partnership. This is kind of interesting because I think it does kind of triage, into where what's best for the companies or the customers, or a collaboration between infrastructure, AI, and also applications, getting into compliance for certain industries, things of that nature. I think this one specifically focuses on what the financial and the public sector, aerospace, defense, and energy. But this deals with SAP's business technology platform and utilizing AI models to accelerate some of these custom AI solutions. I'm not sure this is anything mind-blowing. I think it's another timeline or roadmap to help companies out in their endeavors. If they see enough customers, they're in these square pegs that they can help out. But what do you think, Sam?
Yeah. So this is very interesting, and I think this is aligned to a lot of other stories that we have seen in the consulting space. The real difference that I'm seeing is, I think the Mistral AI. This is the first time that we are noticing. For the most part, the partnerships that we have seen were related to Pi-Fi, and they were positioning themselves as more of the low-code, no-code platform. So, and here the theme that I'm getting is they are saying that, hey, I'm going to create these solutions inside SAP. So that could be a difference. I don't know. I'm not too sure about the difference between Pi-Fi and Mistral AI, or whether they are competitors. They are complementary. So that's where my thought would be. But this seems to be slightly different than what we have seen with the other consulting companies. So it'll be interesting to find out, who else is doing this.
Yeah. What do you think, Ken? Ken, are you there?
I think for the most part, it's. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
great.
we're all having
This
some audio
actually is not surprising.
today. Okay, continue.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm not surprised by this. I think this is certainly a reliable and workable strategy. I mean, ServiceNow did this in partnering with a consulting firm to bring forth its government offering, and to see SAP looking to the service sector as a way to grow both its footprint as well as bring in new customers and leverage their technology. I think this makes a lot of sense.
Do you think this stems, Thomas, even a good question from you, because of the challenges that ERP vendors are having with their customers with transformation issues, that they're all looking to find different ways to bridge that gap, even from a fear factor or trust or change management, or just pure transformation?
I wouldn't say there's fear involved. Anyway, so I do see this as a reminder from Cap, hey, we are here too. And both Mistral as well as SAP are, let's say, riding the wave there, because there are lots of transformations going on. There is this AI hype that we can't talk away. And, well, they are just along for the ride on this one, I'd say. So, and that's true for Mistral as well as for SAP. I mean, SAP uses Mistral models, and now Cap, they are saying, hey, we got a methodology to implement something.
How does this compete, you think, with other models they're using? And why is this one better or an improvement?
I wouldn't say it's better or an improvement. It's just an offering by Cap. SAP partnered with Mistral for longer. Don't know for exactly for how long, but this is one of the, let's call it, portfolio model providers that are already on their platform. So here it's about concrete offerings, deliberate offerings, and consulting offerings.
Okay.
Well, this is something that both Mistral and SAP, they happily support that, because Cap is not the worst of all providers around. And well, it's helping them selling their stuff. So it's simply ecosystems dynamics here for them.
Okay. Ken or Sam, thoughts?
I would definitely position this more as a set of complementary capabilities, in where, when you think about being able to leverage some of what Mistral can provide, that's I think it's a really natural call to find organic ways of being able to serve common customer needs and then be able to share in market success.
Yeah, that's agree. So just that I'm just politically correct.
Okay. Well, it sounds like they have a good marriage there, like you said, Ken. I think we have a question. We might have to go backwards a little bit to Vista and Acumatica, but Sam, there's a question in there if we want to address that real quick.
Yeah, we should, I guess. That's definitely related. Let me change the view a little bit so that we all are visible. I'm going to read it, provide some comments from my side, and then hopefully you guys can provide from your side as well. By the way, if you're in the audience listening to this show, we would love your comments. If you have any sort of related experiences, stories, please comment. We utilize them as we move on. So here, Anders is saying, hey, does Vista have other ERP holdings? Anders, Vista was always very aggressive in ERP integration, consolidation-centric portfolio. My understanding is that they had a team for very long time. One of the longest that I've seen probably in the ERP space. I think they kept it for like 8 years and they finally exited. They were very aggressive with that strategy. They have, I don't know if they have already exited Kibo, but they still have Kibo. Kibo is more in the commerce space, B2B commerce, not necessarily ERP, but they have a lot more from the supply chain perspective. So they have very deep ERP exposure. But for the most part, their strategy always has been pick up the pieces, somehow bring them together, not necessarily product development, research, and do really good marketing. That's what they are really good at. And Anders is saying, often we see that post-acquisition, there are strategic sunsetting of particular product lines. So in general, the way Vista model works, at least what I've seen, they are more into the services revenue, the support revenue. So they don't necessarily sunset the assets in general. Some products they have rewritten, but it's rare. Very minor R&D and a lot more marketing, I would say. More comments from your side, guys?
Well, in answer to his question, just a simple yes, and I would post the link to their portfolio companies into the chat if I could. So there are about a dozen or so current and former companies in the ERP sector that they are in. So it's certainly part of their idea, and that in financials as well, financial industries, which are related topics, HR. So they're not strangers to that business.
Robert, if you're speaking, you're on mute.
All right, I'm off mute. Okay, we won't know for a year or so how this pans out. I mean, we have to see how it goes. Acumatica is going to be business as usual right now, but let's see how this influences them. I think it's a strong opportunity for them to improve, and not that they needed a lot of improvement, but everybody always does. And with AI being a big component and investing in that, I think it's something they could do a little stronger with some of the things that are potential with flexibility that they're going to get with Vista. We don't know the details behind the scenes with the other company that owned them, EQT, but at the same time, I think that there was probably a good acquisition, and a profitable one for the company that sold them. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts, Ken? Anything you want to say?
Go to the next one then?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this one is, I'm not really too familiar with DataRobot, but, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they're focusing mostly on AI workflows and combination of doing things of helping with use cases and processes and things of that nature to help with performance for customers. But at the same time, do you guys think this is more of like a customer service application that they're helping, like a competitor to ServiceNow that they're involved with? Or Sam, maybe you can shed some light on it because I'm not that familiar with them.
Yeah, so I guess it's going to be interesting, and it's going to take some time for us to understand the AI space. At least I would admit that I don't understand that as well, and it's going to take some time to evolve for these technologies as well to find their place. But the way it is coming across, the way I'm seeing this is going to be more of the abstraction layer on top of the other layers. But now other people might argue that, low code, no code is already abstraction. So what are these guys doing? But this seems to be more of the, hey, I'm going to optimize, I guess is probably the right word. But again, I mean, how it's going to marry with everything else that we are seeing, I'm not still too sure.
Well, just to chime in for 1 second and turn it over to Thomas and Ken. So I was just in San Francisco at Snowflake, and they have, you break for lunch and then you can sit wherever you want. A lot of times I like to go just sit with customers and just see how it goes. And I sat with this company that was a healthcare group, and I asked them kind of like, what's their platform and how do they use it and what do they need? And they have, they're in Amazon cloud. They have an ERP system, an HCM system. They have Salesforce and a bunch of other things. And then it goes into Snowflake, and then they have things on top of that for analytics. And at the end of the day, you need some strong, engineers to put together what program. And that's what you're saying, to your point. That's why I brought it up, Sam, that these companies, how do they fit into the mix of what these enterprises need? And I think you're going to see the technology stacks shorten a little bit, because on-prem data is going to be more accessible, and you're not going to need all these applications. But the workflow ones like this could have a place. But turn it back over to Ken and Thomas. What do you guys think?
Can you start this time?
Sure. So from a mechanical perspective, I think that, excuse me, I think this is actually a pretty natural way for people to be looking at the how we provide agentic capabilities. So there's a lot of discussion going on, both from the developer side as well as from the operation side of, well, I'm building all this stuff. How do I, number one, get it all to work together? And then number two, how do I manage the cost of the things that I build? Because you look at companies like Mind Studio, there's lots of people who are talking about, yeah, I can give you a framework for being able to assemble the tools. But now, given it actually costs something to run these workloads, how do I get a forward-looking estimate of what my spend is going to be to actually run the workload, so that I can figure out which model I should go against to get the best results? It's very complex. So while MCP is helping with being able to make those capabilities available, and people are embracing it as a de facto standard, fact of the matter is we're still not good at financial estimation and being able to manage our spend in the space. So I think that this is something that's going to evolve pretty quickly. And there's going to be lots of different options to pay attention to. So anybody that wants to get in the fight and potentially have something be as an open source framework as opposed to a proprietary commercial model, I'm all in favor of. The more ideas we have, I think the better off we are.
Yeah. Just to add on, it's not only about the pure cost, to me at least, but also about the user satisfaction. Users being employees or external customers. So there's nothing worse than sitting a few seconds in front of your computer and waiting for a response. So, and the good idea behind this is, and well, other people have the same, there are two good ideas behind this, is first, have a model that helps you optimizing into both directions. And the other one is leveraging the crowd basically by open sourcing it, and thereby, increasing one's own ability to support this framework and improve the framework fast, while hopefully, and that the judge is always out, gaining acceptance. Because in the enterprise, there's always this struggle between propriety and open source. There are those two fractions that fight each other, teeth and claw, basically.
Right. Good points. Okay. Well, I think it's kind of par for the course. I think it's going to help out the customer. I think in the end, these companies are looking at what are the customers needing and working your way backwards. And like Sam said, everybody's still trying to figure out where they play and what the customers need and what advice we can give them based on what AI is coming around. But I think it's fascinating what is out there. And at the same time, I think the customers need to prepare themselves with their, going back to what we've always talked about, is their data management strategies, because a lot of this is not going to be in full scale without that. So, and I still think, Thomas, you mentioned that, it's not about fear necessarily, but some of these companies are still in the 90s with their, their enterprises on mainframes, and for them to jump off the ledge, they're going to have to overcome that fear to trust, and I think that comes before change management and transformation. But it's just my opinion, and this is a complicated situation.
Yeah. It certainly is, and for some of these companies, I mean, what is cloud about? Basically, it's all about big iron, right? So at the end, it might be an option for them to just do a lift and shift and stay where they are. So for some of them, transformation of their old systems or of their systems doesn't really make sense unless their vendors are sunsetting what they are having.
They're going to have to go hybrid.
Then we are back to fear and desperate. It makes desperate sense.
You're going to have to go hybrid at some point, because in 5 years, you're going to not be able to take advantage of these modern capabilities. I mean, they're extraordinary what's out there, and just even in the databases with, for example, DB2 and AI, and utilizing and implementing things like that, and building, this automation. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. Okay.
Still, I always advise my clients to first look at whether they are not doing the same, just at a higher price point.
That's a great question. And do you guys think price is a big deal, or is it technology is a bigger deal?
It is. Because I mean, if you switch from one technology to the other one to do precisely the same, then the new technology better delivers it for cheaper.
Well, that would be the hope not to happen.
Yeah, well, if you're using if you're using generative AI services for automating the same old processes that you have, you are surely delivering the same at a higher price point, just because of the immense compute power that is needed. So
that's another issue. Correct.
Make the case. Transformation, yes, but either acquired capabilities that you don't have yet, or do the same at a better price point.
Yep. Ken or Sam?
The fact of the matter is, I think that I have yet to see a migration program that has gone immediately to, oh my gosh, we're actually saving money, because there is an opportunity cost to migrate from one environment to another.
Yeah.
And standing up that capability, stabilizing the capability, and then changing how you work to do that it's a costly affair. So you've got to actually plan this. It's kind of synchronized swimming, if you will, because you can't just take and change everything over at once. And I think from an end user perspective, the thing that we're seeing, especially when it comes to interest in agentic technologies and how we're going to use this, some people are diving in, but most people are going through and dipping their toes in the water. They're trying to get the relevant experience so they can build their base and understand where they can actually meaningfully shift and take some of their current capabilities, sunset those, and bring in new capabilities that will replace them, that gives them a better position from which to actually build out the next generation of technology that they're going to use. So when I think about this from a migration perspective, there's a lot of pent-up demand and opportunity that's sitting there, and it's going to take some time to play out. So I'm not seeing that this is going to be just like, oh, yeah, just turn on the tap and let's go. No, it's going to take some time to work through. And I think that the smart companies are going to use migration opportunities as a way of not only managing migration, but also kind of doing a reset on strategy, so that they're able now to better think about what capabilities do we really need to be successful and fulfill our mission.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think the future is going to be more, instead of like bring your own cloud and APIs, it's going to be more bring your own platform and agentic AI talking to agentic AI, or agents to agents. And I think it's I think if you don't get on the bus, you're going to lose. And I think it's a matter of time So I think that you should be looking at a hybrid philosophy and or plan strategically according to that, because that's where the technology is going. I think that the days of these APIs, I think, are going to change, and I think it's going to be based on platforms. And I think these companies need to look at their competitors and see how far they got to go. And I don't know. I think modernization is the key. I think the costs are so challenging to be in scope of. They're so challenging because of production going up and all these things. You have to have, agentic AI and agents to help you be more efficient, specifically in production, supply chain, commerce, et cetera. There's a lot of advantages, and to not take advantage of that and do it, more of the old school way, I think is more it's complicated and costly. So I think if you look at those, if you build out that 5-year cost like you talked about, Thomas, I think that your indirect costs going the old way will be more than the new way. But
And there's the rub, Robert, because everybody will tell you there is an advantage. It's you can do more for less in that particular area. What nearly no one looks at is adjacent areas, or even areas that are further away from this immediate problem that you are solving, where all of the sudden effort, cost, whatever, goes up incredibly, partly incredibly, which then leads us to an overall solution that is worse than what I had before. And this is something that directly reflects what Ken just said. Go at it strategically and look at, well, not only the immediate use case. So yes, there will be A2A. It's the next big thing, right? My agent makes up an appointment with your agent, to put it into a kind of a joke way. But this is another type of AI. I mean, go very low tech, then you have an iDoc that goes from one system to another. That's agent to agent, just that the agents are two ERP systems in this instance. Yeah, so it's just another way. There are things that should be done differently, and others probably not.
And Thomas, I would love to have an agent that withdraws money from your agent, I guess. I mean, that is the agent I want. Everybody's agents.
Create a money printing agent.
Money printing agent.
Sign me up.
Yeah, same.
all right, so we kind of went sideways there a little bit. Anything in the chat, Sam? I'm not looking at it, but I don't think we have anything more. We love to hear from people because it's kind of fun talking about what people's opinions are. But we can talk about Deloitte, what they're doing with their network. Actually, I think this is a good thing. They have the Global Agentic Network where they have pre-built AI agents and to help with the business workflows. This is based upon their proprietary Zora platform and pre-trained agents and to help with things that you might need, which is HR and procurement and compliance. I think those are big components that's supposed to accelerate, obviously, like we just talked about, time to value and decision making, et cetera. But I think what the goal here, and you guys will have to talk about what you think, it helps the competitiveness that they're trying to compete against Accenture and EY and IBM Consulting with all these AI transformation services. They're going to have some challenges because it's new, and we'll have to see how it works specifically within finance and human resources and supply chain, which is a big thing, and obviously customer support. What do you guys all think?
Yeah, so go ahead, Thomas, go ahead.
That's again about service delivery and proving the own capabilities, working with own as well as partner technologies to deliver a good solution. So which is pretty similar to what Cap said, just with another angle. There's this other word with it, Global Agentic Network. So I have a problem understanding the network aspect of it, but that is probably just me.
Yeah, and I'm definitely going to be with Thomas on this. To be completely honest, I'm sort of lost on this story. And I don't know how it is different from the previous story that we had reviewed from Deloitte. And not sure if they are trying to do A/B test that, okay, last one did not get enough views. Let's try with network, I guess. But I'm not too sure what's going on here, to be completely honest, and how this one is different from the previous story that we had reviewed network. Not too sure. As Thomas already pointed out, it seems like the same Pi-Fi centric story, the stories that we are seeing from other consulting companies as well. No difference for me.
Sam, I think you're straight up with this. And really, I think the primary difference here is Deloitte's really leveraging the one throat to choke policy, rather than having to go through and figure out which one of the partners is responsible for the poor performance or the lack of availability of a certain capability. Now it's like, hey, this is our stuff. You come here, we're going to give you a complete solution.
Yep.
Well, just like we said before, time will tell. But I think that they have a fierce competitive, fierce competitors, and I think that's one of the things that, like you guys said, is this are they throwing darts at the wall, or is this real stuff? It's probably in between. But any final comments on that? We can kind of go to our friends at SAP.
Okay, yeah, let's go to SAP unless you guys have anything else there. Yeah.
So SAP and Alibaba, they're getting into a partnership, and we'll see what you guys think. But I do like this because it gives them a little bit more feet on the ground and in that area, which is Asia and China, Southeast Asia and China. I think Alibaba has obviously, if anybody's been there, let's take a step back. Has anybody been to Asia on this call?
Me, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can't even use an American credit card over there. You got everything's through Alipay. So these guys own, the landscape over there. So I actually think it's a pretty solid, partnership. SAP's made a lot of partnerships, and it's really hard to know which ones are going to work or not, But from my perspective, I think this localizes things a little bit more for them from the transformational perspective. And I believe that they're a client of SAP's as well. Thoughts?
They are big time.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a natural progression for SAP. They need to be in a global area, or globally available. Within China, there's data residency. There are data residency requirements that we in Europe have as well, for example. So it means there's no way going around Alibaba as a hyperscaler. Point one. Point two is, with their Quen models, they are quite far upfront from an AI perspective as well. The concern that I would have is the political environment. That's the only concern that I would have with that one, announcing that big time now. So this might cause some raised eyebrows somewhere else.
Yeah, well, I think that they have transformational, issues, not necessarily because of them. I think it's the clients, and I think they're adapting to what the clients need here. And this is the localization that they need to help strategically move forward with some of those customers they have. So SAP's made alliances with a lot of different groups over the last year, and this is just another one of those. But Ken, what do you think?
The thing that seems most interesting to me about this is, and while there might be some political ramifications associated with it, I happen to like the fact that, Alibaba has the potential to bring in some of the, what I might call region-specific AI solutions, proprietary models, whether it's large or small language models, being able to bring that because it's being sourced in region, and then tie that to the work that SAP is doing as part of a transformation initiative, so that you're not quite as dependent upon something that is, outside of the region. So I think that makes a lot of good sense, and potentially can provide, capabilities SAP to bring elsewhere in the world that they currently are relying on something that might be an American or European-based firm to be kind of foundational for them.
Yeah.
It's a
Sam, what
really
else does SAP, what else does Alibaba bring to the table besides the things that we've talked about? Is there something like software that can be used for that integrates well with SAP, or is there anything you're familiar with that's out of the box that we don't know about here?
So as you guys correctly pointed out, I mean, data ERP play is always very political, and geopolitical issues are always going to be there. And Robert, I guess when you were referring to Asia, I think you probably meant China. And I don't know how true that is. At least, I mean, I have not been to China, but I have been to Chinese airports, and you can actually use American credit cards as far as my recollection goes. So I don't know if airport is going to be different than the mainland China, but for the most part, I guess I think you can use American credit card. It might not be as easy. Go ahead, Robert, if you have a comment.
Nope.
Alipay probably definitely is preferred.
Yeah. Alipay, they've skipped the transactional. They've skipped ahead of credit cards to go to more Alipay. I mean, they've moved it to a different. It's a different discussion, but anyway, I was not able to use an American credit card.
So technically, this is definitely a win for both. I mean, if you want to be in China, there's no way around Alibaba and Tencent. No way. And for Alibaba, it's a good way of getting workloads onto their systems and having their customers served with it is one of the best ERPs around, if not the best.
Right.
Yeah. So some more comments, guys. So, so obviously the way, at least right now, the geopolitical scenario is there are going to be many changes, and changes are already happening. For example, if you look at Russia, and I don't know whether you guys have tracked the news or not, but they are replacing SAP, even though they have admitted that that's probably going to be a very expensive, transformation for them. We all know why they are doing that. And here, obviously, China does not want to work with American companies. It's given. I mean, you guys have already pointed that out, right? They have kicked out a lot of consulting companies. They don't want them to be responsible for audits. So this is obviously a very interesting alignment. But the point that I would like to raise here is Russia is sort of trying to kick out SAP, which means kicking out Germany, which is going to be slightly more NATO alliance partner, I guess. But then your China is kind of aligning with SAP. So I don't know whether Germany is playing friend here or what is going to be SAP's position. But this is a very interesting alignment, because if you don't have SAP, what else are you going to use? You are not going to use Oracle, because Oracle obviously is American company. Microsoft is American company. So what are you going to use? China may have some. I don't know. I mean, obviously they are going to use their own cloud, right? But globally, I don't know how adopted that is going to be, at least in the North American context. So that's where I guess it's all very political, geopolitical, as you have pointed out, and we'll see more changes like this.
True. Well, Ken, any thoughts on your end?
I think we covered it.
Okay. Well, just making sure. We haven't had a lot of CRM today.
Okay, so next one, do you want to do this?
Yeah, which one do we have here? We got to talk a little bit about Snyk. Is that what we got? Snyk launches AI trust platform. What we want to talk about with this is how do you guys think this is any different than some of the things we've talked about today? I mean, it's all about, I guess, AI functionality and how it can help with, I guess this is tied a little bit from a legal perspective, and how this Snyk is positioning itself from a dev perspective and security. But I'm not terribly familiar with this one, but is it more on that perspective on protection as well, security risk? But why don't you guys weigh in on this one? I don't know, Sam, if you want to add some value to what I just said. wasn't a terrible amount.
Yeah, so I mean, I can see 2 layers here. And if I read the last line, which says AI native applications for mutual customers, this sounds like very similar to, I don't know if you guys remember, there was an app where you could share your leads. I don't remember the name of that. Like 2 companies can share their leads, they can track the pipeline, they can do joint planning, etc. So it seems like that. And then you have the security layer here as well. So from my perspective, when I look at these technologies, it's almost like everybody is trying to develop the way you would develop a tech stack. Any of the tech stack is probably going to have 50 different applications for security, for optimization. But again, I don't think we have enough details to be able to comment where they will fit, I guess, in the end architecture, which nobody knows how that is going to look in next 10 years. So you have the security aspect, you have the joint aspect. So I don't know. I mean, that's probably my assessment on this.
Thomas, Ken, what do you guys think?
Not quite sure about that one as well. But what has become more prevalent in developing applications in an LLM era is that compliance, not only security, but also security, have become more important because of, well, there being just a plethora of new unknown attack vectors. If they offer now something that helps mitigating that, I'm all in, really all in. So, and the other one that's should probably get added to it is the compliance aspect. So I know of a vendor, small startup vendor nearby my house actually, so they're 500 meters away, that focuses on building models in a compliant way. So, and if this is similar for the other aspect of business being secure from attack in this area, this is important to have.
So you're saying this is mostly from a perspective to help with agent behavior, or
this is to help with building them in a way that they, for Snyk, is it Snyk or Sync, that they behave and can protect themselves from being attacked by Thomas or Robert.
AI monitoring?
No, it's built. Monitoring needs to be somehow built in, but the solution, as I understand this, and I looked on their website as well, is about building solutions that are less prone to attack or fall prey to attacks.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
in an agentic era, the attack vectors, they are just, it's just exponential basically. We don't know enough about how to keep applications secured right now.
Yep.
And this is something that goes into the right direction. I can't say anything about the strength of the offering, because it also seems to be quite a consulting offering behind it. But this is certainly something that we need.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Ken, what do you think?
So for the most part, the thing I've been noticing about, especially on the developer tools front, and I think that the fourth bullet is really the one that I kind of like zoned in on, which is putting security in the hands of developers. Fact of the matter is, this is something that, for the most part, developers don't concern themselves with.
Yeah.
And this has been a historical kind of Achilles heel that needs to be addressed, which is, we're concentrating on building code that does what it's supposed to do, and security ends up being a secondary consideration. And you're relying on the organization to actually draft meaningful policies and guardrails so that whatever gets created or generated in this particular case will actually conform to the guardrails and be reasonably safe. So I think that being able to take and pull out the friction for people that are actually developing to develop either compliant or conformant code that actually fits with whatever the security policies are. It makes a lot of sense. The release itself was actually kind of light on detail. So that how we're actually going about doing that, other than kind of like setting some of your basic guidance to whatever tools you're using to generate stuff which actually conforms. That's, currently I think what current practice is. Whether this will actually move the needle and how it's going to do it remains to be seen.
Yeah, it seems like technology of AI is moving quicker than the security.
Yeah,
as usual.
Yeah. And I think it's a major issue, like you just said, Ken.
Yeah.
Well, Sam, any thoughts, or should we? I think we'll close in about a minute or so. If you have any thoughts, I have kind of a closing guideline that we can go through. I always have to come up with something fun, but maybe so we'll close. But anyways, tell us a little bit about how you say goodbye to everybody, but how you use AI personally.
You are talking about me?
Well, you'll go last, but Thomas first. Like, how do you use AI at home? Like, with your family. Like, what do you do with it? Do you use it to say, "Hey, where should I go to dinner? What should I do?"
Research, basically.
No,
Yeah.
not for work, for personal research.
Yeah, research as well. So as you may know, I'm in the process of moving.
Yep.
I'm moving across this continent. So now this move will involve a lengthy drive. So get a route plan, get some stopovers, get vistas to see, and by the way, make this route plan, make the stops in a way that the dog doesn't die in between. So that the dog can move, that there are dog-friendly hotels. This is one. Another one is, hey, we are moving into that area. That city will be Charleston. Where are there good schools?
Yep. How's the accuracy?
And good schools in an affordable neighborhood, because I don't want to spend 2 arms and 2 legs. Where insurance also is available. There are some flood areas, so where you probably.
So how's the accuracy of AI for you on that? And then we'll move to Ken.
Yeah, so there are so many possibilities. Go for a purchase. Research about options. What options are there? If you are not knowledgeable, it's a new country maybe. So what's the process of the transaction that you are going through? Where to put check marks and what are points to look at? Research is for me by far most valuable part. I get answers finally, not links to answers.
Ken, what do you think?
Well, I use the daylights out of my AI tools, and I actually do use multiple AI tools. So one of the things that, from a personal perspective, I never Google search anything anymore. Yeah. Why bother? Because now I'm going through and I'm asking for specific things about, well, what it is I want or what I'm trying to do. I recently dropped one of my Samsung tablets and cracked the screen on it. And I was like, well, who around here can provide good service for this, where I can get in and out in a couple hours and within a certain price range? And I got back a list of vendors that I was able to, I didn't have to go anywhere. I just clicked, got the phone number, gave them a call, got a quote over the phone. And ultimately, I ended up deciding that it was not worth actually getting the service done on. It was worth getting a new one, just because the cost of the service was almost as high as being able to go out and buy a new device. But that's a really good example of how I'm giving my question away so that I can actually get a better response, rather than having to sift through a bunch of links and waste my time trying to figure out, how do I make sense of it? No, I'm letting the AI tools help me make sense of it.
That's great. And I know we're short on time, Sam. Just quickly, I use it for travel and restaurants, but sometimes I have to use a second one to validate, because sometimes the first one doesn't give me. I'm not sure that that it's correct. So I think it's a major advantage because it's efficient and you get your information very quick. Like you said, you get lists. Sometimes you'll get, some referrals that you can link to and get the information, et cetera. But it's a definite step in the right direction. Sam, what do you think? And close us out.
Yeah, so in my case, I guess I still use Google. They both have different applications, and Google does have the AI view as well. So I get both when I go to Google. But personally, for me, to be completely honest, whenever I used to write anything for my wife, she never felt that it was effective. So now with AI, when I write something, she feels that I love her. So it's making me efficient and productive in that sense.
I wouldn't write love letters via Gemini.
All right, guys, so I'm going to close if you're okay, Robert.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks, Sam. Why don't you close us out?
Thanks, everybody.
Of course, guys. So thank you so much for joining in. We meet every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern. So we'll see you next Thursday.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, folks.